This child is yours, human. My alien vampire wife returned with my child after many years. Kaylin opened the hatch with a reluctant groan, the rusted hydraulics shrieking like they were trying to sing an operatic death. The acid rain had melted most of the warning labels off his entrance door, but one remained, charred and smeared. Caution. Absolutely no ex-wives allowed. He'd written that one himself, 10 years ago, in permanent marker and petty grief. The wind hit him first, dry and crackling with ion static. Then the silence, then the voice. This child is yours, human. He blinked once, then again, then closed the hatch. He stood there in the dim hallway of his bunker, staring at the door like it had committed some personal betrayal. He looked down at the cracked mug in his hand, emblazoned with a faded cartoon of a smiling toaster holding a plasma rifle, and said aloud, "I think I'm hallucinating." From a shadowy corner, the AI toaster buzzed to life. Probability of romantic delusion, 87.3%. Would you like to engage the self-care protocol? Absolutely not, Kaylin muttered, opening the hatch again. She was still there. Of course she was still there. Celira stood under the stuttering lightning sky like a prophecy that refused to be forgotten. Her skin shimmered faintly, an iridescent sheen of starlit blue under the storm. Her hair, longer than he remembered, twisted in the wind like a dark flame, and her ears, longer now, more angular, twitched slightly as she held the child closer. The child was silent, watching him with the same green-flecked eyes he saw in the mirror every day. Kaylin scratched his neck. Hi. Celira's expression didn't change. Hi. I see you brought a small person. She's yours. Well, that's one way to catch up. There was a beat, then another. The wind howled and the sky cracked open with purple lightning. Somewhere in the background, a mutated crow exploded mid-caw. Kaylin gestured helplessly. Do you want to, come in? It's Taco Thursday, or it was, until the food printer short-circuited and made a 3-foot cheese weapon instead. Celira didn't smile, but her shoulders relaxed by a micron. Tacos sound acceptable. Inside the bunker, everything smelled faintly of ozone, desperation, and old socks. Celira surveyed the main room, eyes narrowing on the pile of empty ration wrappers and a corner labeled, "Do not enter, time loop containment." Kaylin cleared a spot on the couch, moving a half-assembled drone and what might have been a musical cactus. "So," he said, sitting awkwardly, "parenthood." Celira lowered herself onto the couch with regal stiffness. The child in her arms looked around with solemn interest, then grabbed a screwdriver from Kaylin's tool belt and promptly telekinetically unscrewed a vent panel across the room. "Neat trick," Kaylin muttered, retrieving the tool. "Does she have a name, or did you want to leave that decision to the awkward human?" "Lyra," Celira said softly. "She named herself." "Oh, smart kid." "She hacked a Star Cruiser nav system at 10 months for bedtime." Kaylin blinked. "What happened to lullabies?" "They bored her." Lyra was now hovering 3 inches off the floor, spinning in slow circles and giggling soundlessly. Kaylin rubbed his temples. "So just to be clear, you vanish in the middle of a war, presumed dead. 10 years later, you show up with a psychic vampire baby and no instruction manual. Is this a test? Are the space authorities watching? Did I forget our anniversary again?" Celira's gaze hardened. "I fled because they would have taken her. The council does not tolerate impurity. A hybrid child would be executed. I hid her. I hid us." Kaylin's stomach sank. "They're still looking?" She nodded. "Worse, they're coming." "Oh, good," Kaylin said, leaning back. "I've always wanted to die violently in my own living room. Let me just fluff the pillows." Lyra floated past, trailing sparks. He glanced sideways at Celira. "She got the floating thing from you, right? And the sarcasm from you." They fell into silence again. This one softer, familiar. The kind that once lived in the tiny spaces between battles, when they talked under the stars of some long-forgotten moon, pretending there was a future. Kaylin exhaled. "Do you want the bed? Or should I clean out the storage room?" She raised an eyebrow. "The one filled with disassembled droids and that singing refrigerator?" "Hey, Melody 9000 is emotionally sensitive. Salira gave the ghost of a smile. Storage room is fine. Right. Good. Great. Lyra landed suddenly in front of him and poked his leg with a glow-in-the-dark finger. Hi, Kaylin said. She stared, blinked, then burped with a sound like a chime through a wormhole. I take it that's a compliment? Definitely, Salira said dryly, rising. The storm outside surged louder, static crawling along the walls of the bunker. Somewhere deep in the earth, one of Kaylin's early warning systems groaned to life with a long, keening beep. He looked up. Please tell me that's the taco machine malfunctioning again. Salira didn't answer. He didn't need her to. Lyra was staring at the ceiling now, her eyes glowing, ears twitching. She whispered something in a language Kaylin didn't know, but somehow understood. They're close. Kaylin stood and ran a hand through his hair. Well, guess we're a family now. You, me, Sparkles over there, and whatever nightmare parade just RSVP'd. Salira moved to stand beside him. She's strong, she said quietly. Yeah, and adorable. She'll need both. He looked at her, really looked at her. Battle-worn, regal, beautiful in a way that still hurt a little. You're staying? For now. That's good. I mean, I have a second toothbrush somewhere. A pause, then she leaned in slightly. I missed you, human. Kaylin sighed. You're lucky I have a weakness for space vampires with dramatic entrances. She smirked. You always did. The warning system screeched again, higher this time. Kaylin grabbed his plasma wrench, looked at the child now levitating upside down while playing with an energy core, and muttered, well, at least it won't be boring. Kaylin was not prepared for fatherhood. He was barely prepared to share oxygen with another sentient being, let alone one who floated when cranky and had the unnerving habit of rearranging the molecular structure of furniture when denied extra dessert. Lyra, no! He shouted as the kitchen table warped into a spiral staircase for the fourth time that week. The child hovered midair, legs crossed like a tiny monk, eyes shimmering. But it's better this way. Tables are meant to be flat, for putting things on. That's the entire point of a table. Salira strolled in holding a canister of plasma milk, entirely unfazed. She's expressing herself. She's redecorating with quantum physics. And she's 2.7, Lyra corrected without looking up. Kaylin sighed and picked up a wrench from what had once been the toaster shelf and was now a minor shrine to mechanical components. The toaster had renamed itself Custodian Prime and insisted on conducting daily inspirational speeches. This morning's began with, every bread has potential, and ended with, revenge is a dish best served evenly browned. Look, Kaylin said, jabbing the wrench at no one in particular. I'm trying here, but your daughter thinks in equations and metaphors, and yesterday she told me the concept of linear time was laughably restrictive. Then she dissolved my socks. They offended her aura. They had bananas on them. Salira only raised an eyebrow. She's your child. Unfortunately, yes. Lyra floated to the ground and began disassembling a floor panel. Kaylin let her. Last time he stopped her mid-task, she triggered an emotional feedback loop that caused every speaker in the bunker to broadcast whale songs backwards for an hour. He turned to Salira. All right, now that we've entered the permanent existential chaos phase of parenting, maybe we can talk about what's going on. Council goons, space law, the possibility of being vaporized for interspecies romance. She sipped the plasma milk. They're hunting her, not just because she's hybrid, because of what she represents. Kaylin sat down slowly on the half-reassembled drone that had once tried to electrocute him during a maintenance nap. Okay, let's unpack that. Like a ticking briefcase, with care. What does she represent exactly? Change, Salira said simply. Fusion, the end of bloodline purity. He blinked. So, she's a vampire messiah? That's melodramatic. Tell that to the shrine she built out of old motherboard parts. Salira's face softened a fraction. They have a prophecy that one day, a child born of dual stars, our blood and your kind's chaos, will unravel the ancient code, collapse the source. Kaylin pinched the bridge of his nose. Of course they do. Why can't it ever be, one day a child will end taxes, Or one day a hybrid toddler will bring universal pizza equality. They're afraid of her, Salira said, and of me. I broke the pact. I betrayed the covenant of sanguine light. I fled. And survived, Kaelin added. Barely. You think Earth is bleak? You should see the moon colonies. I gave birth in a stolen medbay next to a vending machine that only served prune gel. Sounds luxurious. I bid it, she said. The vending machine? It deserved it. Lyra giggled behind them, now building what appeared to be a levitating fishbowl for an imaginary pet. The air shimmered softly around her, the kind of shimmer that normally preceded a mild explosion. Kaelin lowered his voice. Okay, here's the thing. I like living. It's not always exciting, sure, but I've got good coffee and a toaster with delusions of grandeur. I'd prefer not to get hunted by immortal space aristocrats with blood issues. Then hide her. I can barely handle her. Salira looked at him then, long and slow, like peeling back the surface of a memory. You're stronger than you think. I once lost a fight to a vacuum cleaner. It was possessed. Still, she moved closer, reaching out to touch the side of his face. Her fingers were colder than they used to be, more distant. Still, when she looked at him like that, it burned a little. I didn't come here for help, she said. Oh, good, Kaelin said, relieved, because that would have been deeply irrational. I came here to say goodbye. He froze, then laughed. A short, sharp sound. You what? They'll trace me here eventually. If I leave, maybe you two survive. You think they'll ignore her? The intergalactic Dayglow miracle child? She can hide. Her energy signature is still unstable. We could mask it. We? Salira hesitated. She's mine too, Salira. You didn't know she existed. I do now. Lyra was spinning again, slowly, small sparks trailing from her fingers. She didn't look at them, but her voice rang clear. Don't leave again. Kaelin looked at her, then back to Salira. We do this together, he said. You, me, and the tiny chaos bomb. Salira didn't smile, but she didn't argue. That night, Kaelin worked. He rewired old perimeter defenses, built a cloaking field out of broken VR helmets and outdated holo ads, and reprogrammed Custodian Prime to patrol with a spatula and a snarky attitude. At midnight, Lyra stood beside him on the rooftop, watching the stars. They're moving, she said. Kaelin looked up. The stars? She shook her head. The others, the ones who come. Soon? Not yet, they argue. They don't know what to do with me. Kaelin considered that. Good. Let them argue. Gives me time to invent a laser babysitter. Lyra smiled. You're funny. Only when terrified. She reached out and took his hand. Her grip was too strong, too warm, too unreal. Kaelin sighed. Well, I guess I'm a dad now. Lyra nodded solemnly. Then the ground shook. Not much. Just enough to make every bolt in the bunker twitch. Kaelin looked down. Earthquake, Salira's voice called from below. Number someone's breaching orbit. Kaelin turned back to Lyra. She was glowing again. He looked up at the sky. Well, he muttered, so much for Taco Thursday. Kaelin didn't exactly leap out of bed when the warning sirens blared. He rolled off the mattress with the grace of a malfunctioning droid, smacked his head on the underside of a hanging engine part, and staggered upright with a curse that probably violated 3 interstellar languages. Can I get one day without cosmic drama? He groaned. Custodian Prime beeped awake beside him. Unidentified orbital activity has entered the local stratosphere. Would you like coffee before death? Yes. Make it dramatic. As the machine whirred aggressively, Kaelin pulled on his boots and staggered into the main room, where Lyra was already awake, sitting on the ceiling. You sleep up there now? He asked. Gravity is boring, she said. Salira entered behind him, already armored. Her armor was new, sleek, black with threads of silver that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. She looked like a goddess who had just remembered she didn't like being ignored. They're here, she said. Define they, Kaelin said, sipping the world's most menacing cappuccino. The Dusk Kin, elite enforcers, sent when diplomacy has failed and you need to erase a planet. Kaelin choked. Fantastic. Did they RSVP or just show up with cosmic party favors? One ship, scout class, not fully cloaked. That means they're watching. Good. Gives us time to tidy up before the massacre. Lyra descended to the floor without touching it. They're afraid of me. You say that like it's a bad thing, Kalen muttered, glancing out the periscope. The sky had a new shape now, a sleek triangle blotting out one of the stars. I vote we confuse them with interpretive dance and poor decision-making. Celera ignored him and began loading weapons. Kalen noticed one of them glowed a color he was pretty sure humans couldn't perceive. You still carry that? He asked. Celera didn't look up. This blade drank the soul of a king. It can handle interstellar bureaucrats. He blinked. Okay, see, that's the kind of ominous phrasing that would have been nice to know back when we were dating. Lyra was building something in the corner now. An array of mirrors, bits of copper, what looked like a spoon made of neutronium. The whole structure hummed lightly. Kalen pointed. Should I be concerned about that? It's a phase distiller, she said, to bounce their signal, confuse their scanners. Of course, silly me, I thought it was an alien espresso machine. You could probably make espresso with it, she added. Don't encourage him, Celera muttered. Kalen turned to her. All right, listen. I've got 2 landmines, a semi-defensive Roomba, and a bunker made of refurbished vending machines. Unless these guys have a deadly allergy to recycled metal, we're going to need a better plan. We hold position, she said. We wait. I hate waiting. Waiting leads to thinking, and thinking leads to remembering how many times I've nearly died since breakfast. Custodian Prime rolled into the room. Emergency tactical update. I have successfully weaponized the toaster compartment. Kalen stared. You what? It now launches searing discs of carbohydrate fury. Celera paused mid-check on her gauntlet. You turned the toaster into a weapon. Kalen grinned. Technically, it turned itself into a weapon. I just gave it trauma and motivation. Outside, thunder cracked the sky apart. The scout ship hovered just beyond the hills now, glowing with a dark pulse, like something alive and deeply sarcastic. Kalen stood beside Lyra and looked out. They're testing us, she said. They're afraid to touch down. Then let's give them a reason to keep being afraid. He turned to Celera. What's the dumbest possible thing we can do that might actually work? Celera considered this. Broadcast a message. Kalen blinked. That's the dumbest possible thing? To them? Yes. He raised an eyebrow. You want to taunt the people who melt planets for sport? Not taunt, she said. Confuse. Be unpredictable. That's your specialty. I prefer to call it inspired recklessness. Minutes later, the broadcast tower, which doubled as their laundry line, lit up. Kalen tapped the mic. Greetings, horrifying agents of galactic oppression. This is Kalen Vorn, licensed mechanic, amateur philosopher, and single father of one very glowy space toddler. If you're here to negotiate, send snacks. If you're here to destroy us, please fill out Form X-17B for proper complaint processing. Oh, and if you touch my kid, I'll personally shove a neutron spanner so far into your command console, your descendants will taste circuitry. There was a pause, then a reply. It wasn't a voice, it was a feeling. A low, humming pressure in the skull, like someone whispering behind your thoughts. Celera winced. Telepathic probe. Kalen clutched his head. Great. They're scanning my memories. Enjoy the trauma buffet, weirdos. Lyra stepped forward. Let me talk. Kalen reached for her. Hey. We don't talk to genocidal bureaucrats, kiddo. They're not ready for me. Before he could stop her, Lyra lifted her hands. Light bent around her. The floor cracked gently. The sky dimmed. Kalen felt like he was inside a song only she could hear. And then it was over. The scout ship shuddered in the sky. Did she just mind-slap them? Kalen whispered. More like a telepathic thesis, Celera said. She showed them futures, all of them, at once. I barely remember my passwords, and she's giving them existential migraines? They're leaving, Lyra said. Kalen blinked. What? They saw enough. Out the window, the ship peeled away from the atmosphere, like it had somewhere else to be. Something more understandable, like a black hole. Kalen let out a slow breath. Well, that was anticlimactic. You want more dramatic explosions? Celera asked. No. Number, I'm just used to problems not being solved by reason and emotional depth. I feel cheated. Lyra walked back to the center of the room. There are more coming. Of course there are, but not today. Kalen sat down heavily. Today, then, we feast on expired canned ravioli and questionable pudding. Custodian Prime beeped. Would you like the searing carbohydrate fury now? Save it for birthdays. He leaned back, looked at the ceiling, and let the silence settle. Celira sat beside him. I was wrong, she said. You're a good father. I'm mostly winging it. You're good at that too. Lyra climbed onto the couch, curled up beside them, and asked, Can we have a pet? Kalen nodded. Sure, just nothing that glows, bites the moon, or speaks in riddles. Lyra looked thoughtful. Then I'll wait. Kalen closed his eyes. Just one quiet night. One. Kalen woke up to the sound of singing, which would have been fine, pleasant even, if it hadn't been coming from the drainage pipes. He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and listened. Definitely pipes. Definitely singing. The melody was haunting, almost beautiful, and also in fluent galactic middle high, a dead dialect last spoken by philosophers with too many heads. Celira walked in holding a mug. Did you install any sentient plumbing? I tried once. It insulted my shower technique and staged a mutiny. Lyra was already up, poking around the walls with a fork wrapped in tinfoil. Kalen pointed. Is that safe? It's reverse calibrated to trace psychic resonance, she said. So no. They followed the song to the sub-basement, which previously housed their emergency pickled foods and several deeply suspicious mushrooms. There, nestled between coolant tubes, was a glowing orb the size of a cantaloupe. Kalen squinted at it. Tell me that's not another child. Celera knelt beside it. It's a memory core, one of the old ones. Pre-eclipse tech. Might have belonged to a navigator. Kalen crossed his arms. Navigators don't sing. This one does, Lyra said, and it's scared. The orb pulsed gently, and then a projection flickered into being, a shimmering image of a thin, eyeless being in ornate robes who looked deeply disappointed in everyone. Greetings, organic nuisances, it said. This unit is designation Theta 9. All escape protocols have failed. Containment breaches. Oh, stars, that was my spleen. Please destroy me. Kalen blinked. Wow, you really set the mood. The projection flickered again. If you have discovered this unit, you are already compromised. The infection is slow, but complete. I recommend panicking. Wait, Kalen said, backing up. Are you saying there's a space virus in my house? Not a virus, a thought form. Conceptual contagion. You think it, it becomes. I think a lot of weird things, Kalen muttered. Lyra tapped the orb with her fork. Why are you singing? Failsafe, melodic containment field, prevents critical mimetic collapse. Mostly. Celira stood. That's why the ship left yesterday. Kalen snapped his fingers. They scanned us. Found this thing. Noped right out. The orb flickered again. Self-destruction is advised. Do not dream of triangles. Do not name the silence. Do not... The projection popped and the orb dimmed. Kalen sighed. Fantastic. Our home is haunted by philosophical malware. Celira was already moving. We need to isolate it. Reinforce the psi walls. No thinking weird. Kalen rubbed his temples. You're telling that to a guy who once accidentally named his left foot. They moved quickly. Kalen retrofitted old entertainment units into psychic dampeners. Celira carved symbols of negation into the walls, ancient vampire glyphs that made Kalen feel like sneezing when he looked directly at them. Lyra meditated in the hallway, surrounded by 12 cats. Kalen paused. Where did those come from? They were always here, she said without opening her eyes. That's not comforting. By midday, the orb had stopped singing. Instead, it muttered softly about lost oceans and the shape of regret. Definitely haunted, Kalen whispered. They set up a containment field, activated the dampeners, and waited. Nothing exploded. Lyra poked it again. It wants to teach us. Kalen narrowed his eyes. How do you know? It said, let me teach you. Great. First contact with ancient alien academia, and it wants to give us homework. Celira knelt again. If it's a navigator core, it could contain entire star charts, lost histories, techniques for long-range folding, or recipes. Kalen perked up. Alien food? Mostly raw, she warned. He deflated. Figures. The orb began projecting again. Images of stars folding, of ships gliding through dimensions like stones skipping across reality. A symphony of movement, elegant and impossibly precise. Kalen leaned forward. That one just pirouetted around a quasar. The navigators could move through chaos, Celera said softly. They danced with the unknown. Lyra smiled. I like them. The orb pulsed. A new voice emerged, calm and resonant. Would you like to learn the first pattern? Kalen glanced at the others. We're not going to grow extra limbs or lose our names, right? No more than usual, Celera said. Lyra nodded. Teach us. The projection shifted. Lines of code, symbols not meant for linear minds, began to spin in the air. Kalen's brain itched. Okay, that's either enlightenment or the start of a migraine. The walls of the bunker seemed to breathe. Gravity tilted. The lights flickered, not from power loss, but confusion. Then stillness. Kalen exhaled. I don't think my consciousness is supposed to bend like that. You'll adjust, Celera said. Lyra looked radiant. It showed me something. Kalen braced himself. Let me guess. The end of linear time? Number how to fold a sandwich using four-dimensional geometry. He blinked. Can you show me? The next few hours were surprisingly wholesome. The orb, now stable, offered lessons in cosmic folding, dimensional etiquette, and one unsettling anecdote involving a black hole and a grudge. Kalen still didn't trust it. Are we sure this isn't the start of a weird possession arc? Celera shook her head. It wants to preserve, not infect. It's lonely. Kalen eyed it. If it starts asking for bedtime stories, I'm leaving. That night, Lyra fell asleep beside it, humming the same song it had sung through the pipes. Kalen sat beside Celera, watching the stars from the roof. You think this changes anything? He asked. It changes everything. Yeah, I figured. He sipped his tea and glanced up. A new star blinked into view. Not a ship, not a threat, just a sign. Something old had woken, and it liked their style. Kalen never thought the end of the world would smell like burnt waffles. He blinked awake to the blaring of Custodian Prime, who had repurposed itself into an alarm clock that screamed in Shakespearean insults. Arise, thou hairless swamp ferret. Emergency protocol. Oh no, not again, has been activated. Kalen groaned. If it's another philosophical space orb, I swear I'm moving to a simpler timeline. Celera strode in, hair damp from a shower that probably broke 3 laws of thermodynamics. The council's responding. Kalen rubbed his eyes. Which one? The eternal assembly of stars, the fractured union of former blood empires, and someone calling themselves the Space Moose Alliance. Please tell me the last one's a joke. They sent a fruit basket. It exploded in a very polite way. The orb, now affectionately named Professor Humsworth, hovered near the ceiling. Contact initiated across 37 planes. Universal consensus. You are interesting and unstable. Kalen tilted his head. That's a compliment coming from you, right? Ambiguously. Lyra bounced into the room, dragging a floating chalkboard covered in equations, doodles, and at least one accurate map of the multiverse. I made breakfast, she said proudly. It might taste like ideas. The waffle smoked slightly. It also glowed. Kalen took a bite. Tastes like déjà vu and good decisions. Terrifying. Professor Humsworth emitted a hum of satisfaction. Your daughter's cognitive signature is now detectable across 5 dimensions. The thought form contagion adapted. She repurposed it into a learning construct. Kalen blinked. She weaponized psychic malware into a teaching assistant? She is very much your child, and also not. Outside, the sky had changed. Stars shimmered where they shouldn't be. Lines of light traced arcs between moons. Something ancient stirred and yawned, and decided not to destroy anything for once. Kalen pulled on his jacket. Let's take a walk before we're conscripted into another accidental galactic council. Celera walked beside him, fingers brushing his. You're different, she said. Is that a compliment or a diagnosis? You care more than you used to. I've always cared. I just didn't have anyone to care for. Lyra ran ahead, her footsteps soft on the cracked ground. The wind hummed with strange voices, some curious, some laughing. Kaylin looked up at the massive disc descending from the clouds. Oh, good. A visiting delegation. I haven't rehearsed my diplomacy face. The ship was shaped like a spiral. Not a coil, not a swirl. An idea of a spiral. It didn't so much land as negotiate its way downward. A panel opened, and out stepped a creature that looked like someone had put a squid, a jellyfish, and an accountant in a blender, and then hired it to host a cooking show. Greetings, it said in perfect sarcastic standard. We come in peace. We also come in confusion. We detected a paradox, an unauthorized cognitive fold, and 3 separate declarations of interdimensional coffee supremacy. Kaylin raised a hand. That last one might have been me. I get intense about espresso. The creature nodded solemnly. Then you are Kaylin Vorn, first of your name, father of the conceptual air, breaker of breakfast. Salira choked on a laugh. Kaylin scratched his neck. Can I just be guy who wanted a quiet life? Too late, the creature said. You've been nominated for partial deification in 4 minor pantheons. Lyra waved. Hi, do you like math? The creature blinked, backward apparently. Terrifying. They negotiated for hours. Mostly Kaylin just stood there, while Lyra demonstrated impossible equations using waffles and rubber bands, and Salira occasionally threatened to bite people who questioned her maternal authority. When it was over, the delegation bowed. The child shall be protected, their leader said. The father shall be feared, and the mother shall be left very much alone. Kaylin grinned. Finally, a win. That night, the 3 of them sat on the roof of the bunker, which now sported new solar wings and something called a quantum pergola. Kaylin passed around mugs of something that might have been tea. So, he said, we've got galactic recognition, cosmic privacy, and a singing orb in the basement. And a kid who thinks faster than the speed of causality, Salira added. And a robot that weaponized toast, Kaylin finished. Custodian Prime beeped from below. Proudly, would you like a celebratory carbohydrate disc? Yes, but with sprinkles. Lyra looked up at the stars, now unfamiliar, in a way that felt right. Are we safe now? She asked. Salira hesitated. Kaylin answered. Safer than we've ever been. And if anyone comes for you again, I'll rearrange their atoms into polite apologies. Lyra nodded. Okay, can we have a pet now? Kaylin and Salira exchanged a glance. No slimes, no sentient philosophies, and no cats that speak Latin, Kaylin said. I already made a short list, Lyra replied. The stars above shifted again, just slightly, like the universe had taken a deep breath and finally exhaled. Kaylin leaned back, one arm around Salira, the other balancing his mug. I used to think I was just some guy, he said. Some guy fixing junk in a broken world. Now I'm the dad of a cosmic child, married to a vampire exile, with a toaster that might qualify as a war crime. Salira smiled. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Below them, the orb hummed a lullaby only the stars remembered. And for the first time in a very, very long time, the galaxy didn't feel quite so big. The end